The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 5, titled The Big Scary You, is directed by Michael E. Satrazemis. This aired last night, and I'm going to review this episode, let you know what I thought, and at the end, I will give my predictions about what I think is going to happen in the next episode and the rest of the season. I'm going to skip over the Easter eggs for this episode for two reasons. One, I didn't find any, and two, I'm getting over a cold, so if you can't tell, my voice is a little raspy, and I don't want to be rambling on too long. And I do want to apologize for the lack of uploads. Karen and I did go see Justice League on Thursday night. We were originally going to do a live review, but it was really late. And we had a wedding shoot all day Friday, and then I had no voice yesterday and Saturday, so it did not work out too well. So maybe someday this week we will do a Justice League spoiler review since we are pretty late to the game, and maybe even a Thor Ragnarok spoiler talk, so who knows, we'll see. I will be talking spoilers in this review, so if you have not seen this episode, definitely go watch it and then come right back here and I'll give you my thoughts. So without further ado, let's just dive right into this episode. I actually really liked this episode. It comes back to Negan, which doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a great episode, but Negan is a very interesting character, and in this episode we do get a lot more depth into this character, which is what I really appreciated for this episode. The episode actually starts out with a flashback of Gabriel praying about not having a fruitless death. He wants his death to mean something, and he doesn't want to live a pointless life. And then we skip ahead, I think, to the meeting that Negan and all of his generals and people, Dwight, Eugene, Simon, they were all in a meeting right before Rick and the group showed up to start shooting out all the windows. And we get basically the fact that Gregory was trying to tell them, I was trying to get here sooner to tell you about this, but I just couldn't. And he's trying to sell the idea to Negan because he's kind of covering for his own butt. So I thought that scene was pretty interesting with Gregory kind of spilling the beans and really trying to save his own butt, I just thought it was interesting. In the trailer scenes, Negan's kind of trying to intimidate Gabriel, but Gabriel kind of has a trump card when he basically creeps Negan out. And Negan has said it a few times before, and he even brings it back up in this episode. And Gabriel just kind of owns it, he's like, I think I'm here to hear your confession type of thing, like, I'm gonna creep you out even more. And even though really he's being honest and genuine, but he's still like, I can use it and say it in a creepier way. So after all this, Simon, Dwight, Eugene, all the generals of Negan go back into this meeting at the boardroom table type of thing, and they're talking about like, hey, someone in here made all of that out there possible. So, they're all trying to figure out who it is, and we know that it's Dwight, and now we figure out that Eugene is actually helping him quite a bit. So that is awesome to see that Eugene is coming back around to be a survivor instead of a savior, or an Alexandrian, whatever you want to call them. I still call them survivors. They're basically trying to stay calm and collected and cool in this meeting while all eyes are on them, pretty much, because each three of them know, or the other generals know, that it's not them, not themselves. So who else could it be? All eyes are on Eugene. And Eugene he's actually covering pretty well. Dwight's covering really well. But I like the fact that they're working together, and Eugene is coming back around and trying to get out of this whole sanctuary with Negan and everything. He's really trying. So during the trailer scenes with Negan and Gabriel, after kind of Gabriel attacks him, Negan starts opening up about his past. And before Gabriel attacks him, he does this thing where he starts talking about the wives that Negan has taken. And, he starts talking about his first wife. I know most of Negan's past, and some of it's not touched on, so if you don't want to hear about the tiny little things that I'm going to bring up, skip ahead to the time code that just popped up. We hear that Negan has helped children and adults with like weaknesses and strengths and stuff. So as far as I know, he was kind of a sports coach. I don't know what sport. I'm assuming baseball, because he carries around a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. Named Lucille, which was his wife's name as far as I know. But we learned that she was sick and he had cheated on her several times or something. But you know, she was sick. She was in the hospital, I think he said. But when it was all happening and he couldn't bring himself to just put her out of her misery and just end it. So that was what he says was his weakness. That's when he was weak. So that was kind of his confession. The scene that takes place after that with them actually working together to get back into the sanctuary was underwhelming. I have to be honest, because as cool as it was to see them working together, it was weird. It was very short-lived and cut short. I wanted to see more, but they just didn't show us that much. And I did like the fact that Negan kind of came back for Gabriel and like took him by the coat, like, come on, let's go. Like, he's not just gonna leave him, which I actually thought he was gonna just leave him. But he actually did come back for him and saved him. Sort of. Because at the end of the episode, we see him, he's all feverish in that cell, and it looks like he's been bitten. So, Gabriel might be dying soon. Which I thought he was actually going to die in this episode. So at the end of last episode, we got this chase scene with Rick and Daryl against two other saviors. And at the end of it, you know, Rick jumps on the truck or the Humvee or whatever and crashes it. They pretty much watch this guy dying, and I honestly couldn't pick out a single word that he was saying. I'm pretty sure he talked about like how all the kingdom people were dead, the king, the widow, or the Carol, pretty much, and the fat guy or whatever. He was basically saying that they're dead, so, you know, it's trying to get at Rick and Daryl before he dies, because that's a good way to go out. Anyway, Daryl's like about to shoot him, but he's like, no, you know what, I'm going to just let him die in his own time. And that's just showing how Daryl has progressed or degressed. I'm not really sure. He's just killing people left and right. I thought he was just going to end it right then and there, but he didn't. They find several sticks of dynamite in a box. And Daryl's like, we can end this right now. We can go blow a hole in the sanctuary. And Rick's like, no, there's a lot of workers in there. We can't be killing everyone there. And Daryl's like, fine, I can do it. I'll do it. You go back. Like, and then a fight ensues, which I saw coming, but I didn't think it was going to go as dramatic as it did. You know, Daryl was like choking Rick out at one point. And so there's one point where the truck just catches on fire and explodes. And it kind of reminded me because Rick and Daryl are just like on the ground after the explosion. They're just looking at it like, crap. They look like two kids that got caught fighting by their parents. And they're like, yeah, we know we did wrong. That's what it reminded me of. And yeah, they screwed up because they had the guns, they had dynamite, they had everything that they needed. But they let their egos get in the way. Or at least Daryl did. Because Rick is trying to stick to the plan, which they all agreed on and set in place and started enacting. But now it's like Daryl just wants to end it once and for all, which I can get behind because like your whole goal is to kill Negan, and you had like a million opportunities to kill him during that whole speech. As soon as he walked out the door, you should have shot him right then and there. It's like their aim has always been perfect, almost perfect, throughout the entire series. And then as soon as they need to kill the villain, they can't shoot at all. I don't know, that's something that's always bothered me about TV shows and movies in general. One thing that I did forget to mention is the fact that they used the guts trick, which I like to see, especially with different characters, because we've seen Rick do it twice, at least. Now we've seen Gabriel and Negan do it. So I liked the fact that Negan's like, have you ever seen this trick? Like, let's just cover ourselves with this. What doesn't work for me is the fact that they only put it like here on their coat, and that's it. In the second episode, I think it was, maybe the third episode, when Rick and Glenn are trying to escape downtown Atlanta, they like lather up, like they put bones and all this stuff on them, and then it starts raining a little bit and they're already like their cover's blown. Granted, in that episode, like the walkers are way too overpowered, they're climbing fences, but whatever. This episode, it doesn't last very long because Gabriel gets tripped up, and then it's like, hey, your cover's blown because you fell. Didn't quite make sense to me. And then it's like, all right, now we gotta start fighting, because once you start fighting, your scent goes away, and they sense fear. They know you're alive. I don't really know exactly how that works, but as soon as you start moving a little bit faster than a walker would, your cover's blown. So at the end of the episode, we see Rick kind of splitting off from Daryl to go do something. We don't know what. And then we see that he's being watched by some random person on a lookout tower. I'll get to that in my predictions because we did see who it was in the promo for the next episode. But Eugene might have been caught red-handed, literally red-fingered, because he got red paint on his thumb and from touching one of Dwight's chess pieces or whatever. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, Eugene, you idiot. Wash your hand off right now. Go wash it off. And he doesn't. And sure enough, there's red paint from his thumb on a bag that they found with things in it. Guns, I think it was. So yeah, they've pretty much almost found him at this point. And the biggest mystery of this episode is right before Rick is being seen by some mystery person, he sees a helicopter. A helicopter. I don't understand how it's still flying. I mean, first off, gasoline wouldn't be working this far into the future in the post-apocalyptic world. But I could put that aside. But a helicopter is still flying around. We haven't seen a helicopter since the hospital scenes from season 5, I think it was. I hated those episodes. I don't really remember the name of the hospital, but it was with all the cops and all the doctors, and I did not like those episodes because it was all Beth-centered, and for no reason, because her character just dies at the end of it. But anyway, we have a helicopter back in the show, and that is going to come back in a few episodes probably, or at the end of the season. We're going to be given an answer about who this helicopter belongs to, what it's doing, why it's flying around, who's behind it, all this stuff that's wrapped around this helicopter, this mystery. It'll be solved soon. They don't bring in stuff like that's so out of this world because it's a post-apocalyptic world. To see a helicopter still flying around, that's weird. So we'll be given the answer soon. So I gotta give this episode of The Walking Dead an A-. I actually really did enjoy it. There were a few things that I thought were just cut too short, like the Negan and Gabriel getting through the herd, and the workers' uprising. I thought that was gonna be a really interesting turn of events, like, hey, Negan and the Saviors have lost control of all the workers, and they're gonna start fighting back with the survivors, and it's like, I wanna see the numbers that Negan has. We have seen it in bits and pieces. We haven't seen it all in one sitting, really. So, in my opinion, the tables have turned. Rick and his group now have the numbers. There's no way Negan can still have the numbers over them. But I may be wrong. I've never read the comics, but I do know a few things from the comics. But not everything. So that is my review of this episode. So let's get into the predictions for next week's episode and the rest of the season, or at least this first half of the season. In this section of the videos, there are potential spoilers for later on in the series. I have heard things of the comics. I have never read the comics, but if you don't want to know certain things, thank you for watching. Anyway, the next episode features Rick some more, and it shows who he was actually being watched by and who he was going to see. Turns out he was going to see the trash people, which I think could turn out to be the Whisperers. If you don't know what the Whisperers are, if you're still watching and you want to know, the Whisperers are a group of people who are very strange, and they basically cloak themselves in the skin of walkers. So basically like the Guts trick, but all the time. Like they're wearing like walker skin. No bones, no guts, just the skin. It's disgusting sounding, but it's going to be very interesting and very creepy to see. And I still think that it could be these trash people. That's what I thought when we first saw them. I'm like, it's definitely them. It's not been so far, but it still could be, because the woman in charge, I think her name is Jadis, she's very creepy and very... You don't know what's going on with her. She's got a screw loose somewhere. It also looks like Daryl and Tara are going to team up, because both of them know that they just need to kill. They need to just stop things that are happening. So they're just going to ruin the plan. Hopefully Daryl doesn't die. I'm okay with Tara dying, but I don't want either of them to really die. It also looks like Michonne and Rosita are going to team up, which will be cool because both of them are trying to, heal after the battle that happened at Alexandria. but that'll be interesting to see them team up because we've never really seen them talk much. It also looks like Carl is going out on his own, probably to look for that one guy that they ran into, I think, in the first episode. Okay. I still don't know who that guy is, what he's going to do. He's probably just going to die, but he could be very important to this series overall. I don't know. I'm still looking forward to that scene that we got in the first episode where Rick says, "My mercy prevails over my wrath." Who he's saying that to and why he's saying that, when he's going to say that, and obviously that big flash forward with the festival going on. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see what the rest of this season, and of course the whole series overall, but in particular this season, what it holds for us in the future. So that's all I got for you for this episode. I gotta stop talking because my voice is getting rough right now. We will be doing our Justice League review as soon as we both feel up to recording another video. Like I said, my voice is just trashed right now. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified when we upload new content. And be sure to check out our Patreon page where you can get early access to videos, vote on future projects, maybe even help us get new series going, get more content flowing on this channel, because the more movies we can go see, the more reviews we can do. And also, there is that potential that you could be in a video with me in a future collaboration. So definitely check out our Patreon page. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.